Hello, guys, and welcome back to part two of the Python series where we learn Python from the start, learn programming with Python from the beginning. In the last video, we were able to get our PC set up by installing the Python interpreter, and we also went on to install a code editor called Atom, which will help us write our Python code. In today's video, I'd like us to have a look at the Windows command prompt. Now, the command prompt is a command line interface. It is also known as CMD. And I think CMD stands for command. It's basically a text-based interface available to the user. The user types in inputs as in commands in the form of text, a writing, and the computer will execute this command for the user. I know you're probably thinking, but Paul, why would I want to go through this stress while Windows has got a nice GUI, graphical user interface for me already? Well, let's just say that when you start programming, you end up believing that it makes your life easier because it actually is simple to use when you get to know it. And plus, it makes you look cool. Like, when you're typing in the command prompt, it makes you look very cool. That's just beside the point anyway. Now, if you are on a Mac OS or a Linux, your terminal will be what we'll be using in place of the CMD, the command prompt. As you see soon, some of the commands will be similar, but most of them would be different, unfortunately. So if you're on a Linux, I'm pretty sure you already know these commands because that's what you use on a daily. And just for information's sake, Linux and Mac OS both use what we call a bash terminal, I believe. Now, in the last part of this series, I showed you how to open up the command prompt on a Windows machine. You just need to go to your start and search for CMD, hit your enter key, and you have your command prompt opened up. And yes, basically, this is the command prompt. Now, before we start looking at a few of the commands that you can use in the command prompt, I would like us to consider two terms that we use. The first one is a directory. A directory is basically a folder. A very simple understanding. Don't overthink it. Understanding it like this will make things look easier as we go on. So a directory is just a folder. Think of it like that. Very simple. The second term that I would like us to look at is what we call a path. P-A-T-H. A path. A path basically represents how we can access a thing on the computer. It refers to a representation of how one person or the user can access a thing on the computer, be it a file or a folder, or should I say a directory. For example, if you're on a Windows machine, you have to open the C drive, the drive with the letter C, before you can get access to the folder in which programs on your computer are generally installed, the folder named Program Files. I know you've heard of this folder. Now, the path is usually written with slashes separating succeeding directories. Whether the slash is a forward slash or a backward slash, it depends on the system you are on. For example, if you are on a Windows machine, we usually use a backward slash. If you're on a Linux, they use a forward slash. So it depends on the system you are using. And as you can see in my command prompt over here, if you can guess, this thing that I've highlighted over here is a path. So in order for me to gain access to this directory or this folder named Trevor, I need to go to the C drive, go to my users folder, then I would find a folder called Trevor. So that's the whole understanding of path. And notice that the drive letters are having this colon attached to them. So if you want to specify a drive, you add the colon attached to the drive letter. So there's something we call an absolute path, and there's also something we call a relative path. An absolute path starts from the drives. So it's either it starts from the C drive or any other drive that you have. And the relative path is given in relation to your current location. And usually we use the dot operator to specify the current location you are in. So you'll be like dot slash, then anything that you want to access, but it will be relative to the current location that you are in. So you can see that based on my explanation, this path that over here, C, users, then Trevor, this path is an absolute path because it is starting from the drive C. But if I were to talk about a relative path, then I will do something like dot slash. Then I'll give something like maybe my farms, something like that. So this means that based on the current directory I'm in, I should navigate to a folder or a directory called my farms. That's the whole understanding of it. So the dot operator is used to represent a relative path. If you need more understanding on this, I'll leave an article in the description, an article I've written on the command prompt. Go ahead and look at that article. It's on my hash node blocking page and check it out. Now, when we talk about the command prompt, a command is basically a text that you enter and you tell the computer to do something through that text. So that text is called a command. You input the text, something like this, then you hit the enter key and something will happen. Now, I want us to look at some basic commands that we'll probably be using throughout this Python series. The first command that I would like us to look at is the command cls. Most people think that the word, or should I say, the command cls stands for clear screen, and it makes sense because that's what it does. It clears the current screen. So if I type cls right now, as you can see, I've typed cls and I hit the enter key, it clears everything and leaves only where we are. Now, if you look at something, my command prompt is currently having this directory over here, which means this is my current location inside the command prompt. This is where I am on my computer right now. So if I want to navigate to a folder or anything, this is my current location. So the command prompt starts from a certain directory. So like I said, the CLS clears the screen. So if I type anything, and I type in CLS and hit the enter key, it clears the screen. The next command that I would like us to look at is the cd command. The cd command stands for change directory. It is easy to guess what it does based on what I just said, change directory. So it helps you change the directory, it helps you move from your current directory to an immediate one, either the one before it or the one after it, based on how you use it. Now, looking at my current directory, I'm currently inside the folder or the directory named Trevor, my users folder. And I know for a fact that there is another directory inside here called desktop, which is my actual desktop. And if I want to change my directory to the desktop, this is what I'll do. I'll type in cd and I'll give the directory that I want to go to. So I want to cd into the desktop. So I'll type change directory desktop. And if I hit the enter now, you can see that my absolute path has changed and it has the desktop now, which means that currently I'm on my desktop. Now, the cd command also works with the absolute path. So I could have done something like cd, then I want to go to the C drive, I want to navigate to the users, and I want to navigate to just Trevor. So I want to go back basically, and this is my current location and I want to go back to this location. So the cd command also works with the absolute path. So if I hit enter right now, you realize that it sends me back to this particular path that I've given it, a certain directory. It works with that. And also the cd command also works with the relative path. So I can do something like cd dot slash desktop. So it means where I am currently, I want to move to a folder called desktop at my current location. So if I hit the enter key, it sends me to the desktop. Now, as you can see, I've typed a lot of things and my screen is covered essentially. So I'm going to type in CLS, hit the enter key, and it clears my screen for me. Now you can also use the cd command to go to a previous directory. So as you can see, currently I'm in a desktop. Let's say I want to go to the previous directory, which is Trevor. If I want to do that, all I need to do is to use 2 dots after my cd command. So I'll do cd, then I'll put 2 dots over here. If I hit the enter key, you realize that it goes back to the previous directory or the previous location. So cd dot dot sends you back to the previous location. Now, I know this particular cd command is a bit confusing. So if you must, go back to the beginning of where I started talking about cd and listen to what I said again. Personally, I think that if you practice more, you get used to the commands. Up next, I want to show you a way that you can open up your CMD from a particular directory, not necessarily opening it up from your users folder. This is kind of not secured if you want to think about it. So I've got a folder created for our Python basics that we are going to be learning, and that's where my downloads is, what we downloaded the last time. And in this folder, I want to show you how you can open up this folder in your CMD. It's actually really simple. All you need to do is to put your mouse pointer to this location over here, the one that shows the directory structure, and over there type in CMD and hit the enter key. And that should open up your CMD for you straight ahead. And as you can see, it has opened up the CMD for me in that particular directory. So this is my directory. It's in my D drive. You navigate to a folder called Revenue 44. You navigate to another folder or directory called Source. Then you navigate to a folder called PyBasics. So that's where I opened it from. And that's how easy it is for you to open up a directory in your CMD, or to open up the CMD from a specific directory. You'll find that this is very useful. You don't have to, navigate to that particular directory in your CMD. You could just open up that directory straightforward in the command prompt. Another very useful command to use in the command prompt is the dir command. This one basically displays information about the current directory that you are in. It shows the files and folders available in the current directory. So based on this folder that I have opened over here, you can see clearly that I have a folder in here called downloads. But let's assume that I don't know this and I want to, find out what kind of files or folders I have in my PyBasics directory. What I would do is basically input the command dir and I'll hit the enter key. So after hitting the enter key, you can see that it gives me a bunch of information. It tells me that, oh, I'm currently on my drive D. It gives you a certain, the current directory that you are in. It gives you the kind of folders and files you have over in there. So basically, I have 0 files and I have 3 directories according to them. 2 of them are not showing and only 1 of them is showing. So this is the directory that I'm talking about, the downloads folder and all of this. So now that you know this, I can basically clear my screen with CLS. After clearing my screen with CLS, then I can even CD into the downloads folder. Just a quick tip, if you don't want to write out the whole thing, you can write CD, then you start writing the downloads and you can press your tab key. After pressing the tab key, it should auto-complete it for you. If that's the only D word over there, else you might have to press the tab 1 or 2 times to be able to get to the right, the right folder that you want. So CD, D, then you press the tab, it completes it for you. And I can CD in there. And I can CD with 2 dots to go back to where I was. And I can clear the screen to remove everything. That's how simple it is. Now, how do you switch from one drive to another, assuming you have 2 different drives? Now, the thing is that the CD command only works for the drive that you are currently on. So you see, I can do CD into the downloads folder, but I can't do a CD into my C drive. I can't do a CD into my C drive. It will just tell me C drive, but it wouldn't actually change my path to that particular place. So I want to know how I would be able to change the current location that I'm on. I want to change from this drive to another drive. Now, if you notice, my computer has 2 drives. That's the D drive, as you can see over here, and the C drive that you saw earlier. So I want to be able to change there. Well, if you want to do that, all you need to do is to type in the letter of the drive that you want to change to and add a colon to it. So right now I'm on the D drive. If I want to change to the C drive, all I need to do is to do C and put a colon there, hit my enter key, and as you can see, the current location changes to the C drive. And that's how very easy it is. I can change back to the D drive by typing in D. Both small letters and capital letters work. So I'll do D and I'll write a colon, hit my enter key, and it sends me back to the D drive. And if you've noticed, it doesn't send me to the beginning of the D drive. It sends me to my current location where I was before I started it. It will send me back there. And that's a very nice thing about it. All right. So now we've learned about opening up your CMD. You just go to the start and open it up. We've learned about changing directory. We've learned about clearing the screen using the CLS command. We change directory using the CD command. Use the CD dot to go back. And we've also learned how to open up your CMD from a particular directory using your file explorer. We also learned how to find out information about the current directory you are in using the dir command. Now, I would like us to look at how to use Python in the command prompt. Well, we are not going to use the Python, but I want to show you how you can open it up in the command prompt. Well, it's very simple. All you need to do is to type in Python. I'm on a Windows computer, so all I need to do is to type in Python, and everything will open up for me. Then the thing is that if you're on a Mac or a Linux, like I said earlier, you need to type in Python 3 or Python 2. We are using Python 3, so you should probably type in Python 3. And I've said that the reason is that both Linux and Mac already has Python 2 installed. So if you want to use Python 3, you should specify the version. But I'm on a Windows machine, so I'm only going to write in Python, hit my enter key. And as you can see, it brings up something a bit different. This is what we call the Python prompt, or you can just say it's a Python interpreter that is available to you. And you can type in Python commands and do everything that you want to do. For now, we don't know any Python command, so I'm not going to do anything. But to exit from this, all you need to do is to type in exit and put in open bracket and close bracket. This is what we call a function in Python. We'll learn about this in upcoming videos. For now, just type in exit with the braces, hit the enter key, and you should be able to exit out of the Python prompt. So you can now clear your screen and everything will be back to normal. All right, we are done for this one too. If you like this content and would like to support, you can do that by simply leaving a like behind and subscribing to the channel for more of Python and programming stuff. If you want to become my friend, feel free to connect with me on Twitter. The handle is TrevorNew44, the same as the channel name. An article version of this, a written form of this particular video will be on my hash load blocking site. I'll leave that in the description below. Check that out. If you have any problems, questions, or any addition, just leave them in the comment section. I'll do well to check that out and I'll definitely reply your messages. And as always, I'll see you in the next part of this video. I'm signing out.